Talking about leadership and followership.
That's right.
The issues we have in the country, the leaders blame the followers, and the followers blame leadership. Which direction do we go?
Thank you very much. It is like the opposite people, doing things in the wrong direction. What we are doing in Nigeria is to put our blames on the wrong people. Neither here nor there. It is just like the debate about which one comes first. Is it the egg or the chicken? Now you look at the society that the leadership came from the same society. It's a different thing when we are talking about colonialism, when certain world powers force themselves, their reign on the weaker countries. And that is why some of us disagree with the principle that set up the United Nations. They are united to the extent that the interests of certain countries are better served than those of other countries. And the stronger countries are not protecting the interest of the weaker countries. So it is neither the leadership or the followership in Nigeria that has the right, maybe I should just use that for want of better word, to blame the other. First, when the colonial masters were going, they entrusted the reign of power into the hands of those they could trust that would protect their interests. But why were we colonized in the first place? We were colonized because those who believe that they have so much power and they needed resources, raw resources at cheaper rates, can feast on African countries to build their own industries for their own economic development. While they are doing that, they are destroying the economy of our own countries. They were devaluing Africa. They were everything they did. Talk about enslavement, that is slave trade. Talk about mining, exploitation of our resources. Apart from stealing all of those resources, they still destroy our flora and fauna. And that was the beginning of our degeneracy. Now, when they were going, they entrusted power in the hands of those who will protect their interests. Now, they actually empower them economically. They empower them militarily. So they were fortified. Those that they entrusted power on were fortified. And those people now wanted to live like the colonial masters. They want to live larger than life image. And that now led to the disparity between haves and have-nots. So the society became polarized. You have the haves forming the class of oppressors and have-nots forming the class of oppressed. And the oppressors now became the lords, while the rest of us became serfs. They made us hewers of their wood and fetchers of their water. And because of the empowerment, economic empowerment, military empowerment that those who took over the reign of governance from the colonial master have gotten, they use those powers to suppress others, and that became very, very difficult, almost impossible for sons and daughters of nobody from getting to the pinnacle of governance in Nigeria. And that is why the gap, the gauge between the haves and have-nots, between the rulers and the rules are widening. Now, blaming each other, ordinarily, we the people, I mean those that fall in the class of the oppressed, who are poorer, are more in population than those that are exploiting our weakness. The vulnerability of an average mass is the instrument that our rulers are using perpetually to deceive us into voting for them, to deceive us into accepting their degenerate, I mean, their flamboyant economic, system. And for so many years, we've been articulating non-capitalist economic reconstructive strategies, but they keep on pushing it back to us that, okay, there's no alternative to what they're doing. We are not forceful enough. So when you look at who should blame who, you just wonder that the blames go both ways. For now, if you ask people to vote the right candidate candidates are not candidates that have, I mean, governed any section of this country before. And the right candidates are those who have succeeded in the areas of their earlier performances, not those who have governed in some part of the country and they have destroyed it or they have nothing to show for it. There are so many things that people, voters, should look out for. First and foremost, you have to look at how mature the person is. It is not enough to say not too young to rule. What have you been able to do after your training or your school?
Yeah, sorry for cutting in there. When you say mature, are you referring to age or experience?
Maturity in experience, not age. That's why I say it is not enough to say not too young to rule. You have to know where he's coming from. You have to know his background. You have to know if he had cognate experience. Experience doesn't have to be in the public governance. It can be in a place as small as, iBrandTV. How has he run it? Has he run it down or run it up? Has he committed fraud within that small, company? Has he committed economic or financial crimes in that small outfit? If you dig deep, you are going to find out what you need to assess the person.
All right.
But these days, it's like people are not included amongst those who should decide those who govern them. And that is why even if ordinary people belong to political parties as the Constitution has provided for it, they may not be nominated to contest any election. And in Nigeria of today, if you are not nominated to contest an election, you can't contest. That what happened to the former governor of Lagos State, Ambode. Despite the fact that everybody wanted him to recontest, but the political party didn't fail him. What can he do? Or what can the people do? But the people have a lot to do if only they want to use the power of unity. A people united cannot be defeated. If the people insisted that they were not going to vote for any other person but that person that has shown them the capacity to perform, to live up to the bidding, up to their expectation, then nobody will be able to defeat them.
But this only can work where voting counts.
Yeah.
That is where voting counts. I have told you, maybe not here, that it is a myth when people say votes don't count. If votes don't count, politicians will not canvass for it.
All right. Now, moving on, today in this country, people are at the point where they are looking to the leadership with great expectations. But when they not get what exactly they are looking for, it's normal to get agitated. Now, what's your impression about how all of these things are playing out in terms of our expectation and also what we see?
Thank you very much. Not an average Nigerian is looking towards the side of leadership to meet their expectation, they are despondent already. They just tolerate the leadership in Nigeria. They just wait till when God will intervene. Otherwise, Nigeria will have not remained the same as we speak if they believe that they have the power, or if they use their power, the power of majority, to decide what happens. So most of the time, people just tolerate anybody in government. If a goat won election, Nigerians will allow the goat to reign.
But how did the goats win?
So that is what is happening in several places. You go to some places, you won't see government presence in the majority of the communities, and people will still go about their business as if nothing is happening. There won't be road, there's no water, there's no electricity, there's no market, there's no hospital, there's no clinic, no maternity, no nothing, no schools. And people still tolerate that government, and they still pay their taxes and rates. That means that people are complacent. But we should not blame the victim for their misery, because the situation has kind of subdued their sensibility. So, like I said, they just decide that we and them, let government does what it likes. So now, government is not meeting their expectations. They stop expecting anything from government, and they allow government, or maybe government officials, to loot what belongs to all of them, and they allow them to get out of power and still walk the street free.
But then my colleague raised the question, 61 years about the government blaming the people blaming the government, and 61 years after independence, Nigeria is still grappling with the issue of leadership. Now, leadership is the ability to influence a group of people to achieve a desired result. Now, when you talk of leadership, the people look at the government. Don't you think that's a challenge in itself?
Well, you see, the leadership question in Nigeria, I've told you, has been warped since the beginning of this republic. I mean, talking about Nigeria becoming a republic, 1963. So if our leadership recruitment has been so awkward to the extent that periodic elections are manipulated to bring in those that don't deserve to be there, not that the votes didn't count. Okay? Because you have to, no matter how much you try, you have to make pretenses to having majority of votes. People go to vote. They canvass, they spend so much in reaching every nook and cranny of this country. Okay? Now, what the problem we have is the constitution that we've been having that excluded the people from decision making on who govern them and how they are governed. So if people had never participated in the making of their own constitution, and don't forget, I think I once said it on this platform, that the constitution upon which the former president Obasanjo governed wasn't ready until after he was sworn in. It was still in the making. So Nigeria didn't even know what they are voting for, whether it's tyranny or true democracy or whatever. Eventually, the constitution makes it compulsory for you to belong to government-registered political parties, meaning that government dictates how you run your affair as a political party, and they determines what conditions you should fulfill. It is like what happened in the days of the military when Babangida foisted two political parties on us. It destroyed all the political associations that wanted to transmit into political parties. So we are being we are being controlled like, what do you call it, robots. Okay, we are being teleguided on everything that we are doing. And that is why Nigeria is speeding backwards. So if you say that we are not where we were in 1960, yes, we have moved backwards. If not in recent times when railway is being, rejuvenated. For so long, I mean, in the earlier days, in the 60s and 70s, people used railways for their, haulage. But at a stage, you couldn't use that. Then you use road. Road became dilapidated. The road that were built by the colonial masters were very solid, even into the remotest of villages. Sure. Everything went down the drain. The schools that were built in the days of colonial masters were solid, more solid than the one we are building now. That was the days when quality matters.
Okay, now, just very briefly, because of want of time,
yes,
you've already raised the issue of a constitution.
Yes.
The present constitution was structured during the military regime.
That's right.
Now, Nigeria has long departed from military regime and progressed to civilian and democratic rule.
That's right.
How do you justify, what's the justification for using a military-made constitution in a democratic?
Because it's convenient for our leaders to use it. It puts more money in their pockets. It puts more powers on their hands. And they use those powers to continue to pass the baton from members of the same ruling class, I mean, from the same political elite to the same political elite. The system has been so organized in such a way that the baton of leadership in this country will continue to circulate among the same cabal. It doesn't matter which political party they belong. If your program and agenda or your manifesto as a political party doesn't tally with the mainstream agenda of the capitalist. Capitalism is about exploiting the weak for the interest of the strong. Yeah. Okay, so if you are not capitalist in nature, you will not see the light of the day. And that is why many of those other political parties that were left-leaning, that have anything similar to socialist or communist agenda, were deregistered, has been deregistered. Okay, so the reason why they are deregistered is because we are practicing prebender politics, a politics that have been prearranged. It doesn't matter which political party you belong, the leadership of this country will fall into the hand of those who have been oppressing us since the so-called independence. So until the constitution is remade by the people themselves, and how will you do that? I spoke about the Sovereign National Conference. If we don't hold Sovereign National Conference, we are just deceiving ourselves. Sovereign National Conference is the beginning of true nationhood. Sovereign National Conference is the only means of giving sense of belonging to everybody, and the way to do this is not difficult. Individuals will hold opinion about how they want their life to be administered. They go to their families. Their family will nominate somebody to represent them in community conference. Community will go to local government. Representative of local government will go to state government, state level. State level will go to Sovereign National Conference. Sovereign National Conference will run the affairs of the country while the conference holds. And the outcome of it will be a brand new constitution that everybody will have contributed to, one way or the other. If anybody decides not to participate, he will know that it was voluntary. He had the opportunity. Unlike the present constitution, we were not given the opportunity. The Berlin Conference didn't include us. Mafasi Constitution didn't consult us. All the other constitution, independent constitution, they didn't consult us. They just did it because they believe that the masses in this country do not deserve to be included in the matters of government. And that is what we are now preaching, that look, there should be inclusiveness, there should be participatory governance, there should be governance by the dictates of the majority of the people. Democracy should be redefined. To me, that a government that satisfies the needs of the majority of the people. The so-called government of the people, by the people, for the people is so nebulous. It is meaningless. You can't explain it to people and they will understand. Who is the person you are talking about that belongs to the group of the people? And the oppressors will also be saying that they are part of the people. What kind of people are you?
All right, Deborah Adeniro, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a short break now, but Michael?
Yeah, sure. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, he's still very much around here, so we have a lot more to talk about. Stay with us.
Lagos Racecourse is the scene, and it's the afternoon of Nigeria's great day, with thousands awaiting the climax and resolved to relish every minute leading up to it. Princess Alexandra, with Sir James Robertson, the retiring Governor-General, must have enjoyed the whole jubilant atmosphere of the occasion. A first-class show was put on for the benefit of spectators. Entertainers fairly let themselves go, tumbling head over heels with delight. Celebrating, however, as we all know, can be a bit exhausting. The princess was received with yells from the kids. Her friendly charm had quickly made her very popular. It was as the representative of Her Majesty the Queen that Princess Alexandra of Kent returned in the evening. She was about to hand over Nigeria's constitution. And presently, quoting the Queen's own words, she was to wish Nigeria a great and noble future. This was the moment for which the country's leaders, in partnership with British authority, had patiently worked. The Nigerians themselves emphasized that all has been done in friendship, and that friendship will continue. Meanwhile, top-ranking Nigerians, wearing their finest robes, watched in dignified silence as the climax of Independence Day was reached. In handing over the documents to the Federal Prime Minister, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Her Royal Highness handed over sovereignty to a new nation. The Union flag flying for the last time. Princess Alexandra was present, of course, for the final ceremony that took place on the stroke of midnight. This was the dramatic takeover by the new nation's own green and white flag. The next day came the state opening of Parliament. Princess Alexandra, wearing a white embroidered gown and a diamond tiara, entered the chamber where 350 senators and representatives and many guests had assembled. This was the first session of the first Parliament of the new Nigeria. Dr. Ezekwe, President of the Senate and Governor-General Designate, addressed the Princess, asking her to open Parliament by reading the speech from the throne.
You're still watching Daybreak Independence Edition. Now, the precarious security situation in the country and the fail of government at the center has given rise to agitations for restructuring. We still have very much here in the studio Debo Adeniro, the executive chairman, CACO. First and foremost, and contextually,
that's right.
What does restructuring mean?
Well, thank you very much. People have defined restructuring in different ways, but we have to look at what is the structure, how a government is arranged. Okay? And the arrangement of the structure is contained in the same constitution. For example, we are running a presidential system of government. You have one president and a vice president. They run together. They share the same ticket, but they don't perform together. The vice president is like a spare tire, just like the deputy governor and the vice chairman of local government. They are like spare tire. So the constitution doesn't give them enough work to do. So much power is concentrated in the hand of the president. So it's not it was a share ticket that brought them to power, but it's not a share responsibility that they perform when they get to power. Then you have a cabinet that are not elected, that are appointed. The constitution says you should appoint one minister from each of the minimum of one. You can appoint 10 if you like in some other states, but minimum of one should come from each state of the federation. Then you have a legislature bicameral. You have minimum of 9 representatives to form the House of Rep. You have 3 senators from different senatorial districts, and they aggregate to make laws for us. Then you have judiciary, where you have CJN appointed. You have a National Judicial Council that supervises what happens in the judiciary. Now, you also have similar structure at the state level, and you are supposed to have it at local government level. But what happens is that local government is like haven't been subsumed in the state governance, and being the closest government to the grassroots. People at the local, officials at the local government have to take instruction from state government. That is what is not happening between state and the federal government. They have something they call Joint Action Committee, where the money that is due to local government is released to the state government, and the state government just give to local government what they think that the local government deserves. This is a replica of a structure of governance in Nigeria. Okay. Now, when you have to appoint the ministers, how do you appoint them? You still consult with politicians within the places. Then you have parastatals. You have what you call MDAs, ministry, department, and agencies. These are people, these are institutions you use for patronages. You don't have to, there's no recourse to the constitution to determine who becomes the head of parastatals. And that is where the challenges of nepotism comes in. When you want to appoint those who will work for you, even before the constitutional recognized ministers, you appoint those you can vouch for. And those you can vouch for may not spread across the country. That is where people complain that, look, why don't you appoint somebody that is not from your ethnic nationality? They accuse people, head of governments, of nepotism. But nepotism has fostered itself on us by the letters of our constitution, because the enormous power that is concentrated in the hand of the chief executive has made him somebody who may not be considered to have done anything wrong. And you don't forget that they have these immunity clause that cannot effectively challenge whatever action they take while they are the chief executive of the federal government or the state government. Now, if that were to be the case, it means that impunity can reign and you can't challenge it in court. Now, the judiciary also has its own problem because they have to interpret the law.
Of course.
That is made by the legislature. Now, if a drunken judge pronounces a judgment or a ruling, it is bound to be obeyed, no matter how bad that law. If you say go and kill him, then the fellow could have been killed if nobody vacillates. If the governors don't vacillate before they sign the document, he will have been killed. Even if you want to file appeal, it will have been too late. That's what happened to Ken Saro-Wiwa. Nobody is able to do much appeal, and he was killed overnight. That's what happened to, the days of military majorly. Now, this is a structure that has not been favorable to us. But it is actually not the structure, but those who operate the structures that have problem, that creates the problem. Yeah. The problem comes out of maybe avaricious disposition of our leaders. They want to have all the powers, they want to have of the wealth, they want to have of the influence, they want to at the peril of those who do not have the opportunity of being in government with them. And definitely, not everybody can be in government. You can't practice direct democracy. Now, some people must be in charge of our life. They have access to national coffers. The taxes, the rates, all of this money that comes to us, income from, revenue from all what government does, grants, and also all of that came to them, and they have to dispense it. And why they do it without sending people out in what you call needs assessment. The legislators are expected to go back to their constituencies to ask people, what do you want us to put in the budget? That is appropriation bill that they are considering in the National Assembly or State Assembly, as it were. They don't go back to the people. They think on behalf of the people. So they arrogate capacity to, maybe through clairvoyance, determine what the people should need or what fits the people.
Without actually consulting
the people. In some cases, people need roads. It is not easy to construct roads by yourself. They leave road, they want to sink borehole. Meanwhile, maybe in the community, every house has a borehole or a well or a river where they fetch water. What they cannot construct for themselves is roads.
All right, now there's been call for restructuring.
That's right.
The Yoruba social political group Afenifere has called for
right.
restructuring. Lots of groups have come up to say we need a restructured Nigeria.
That's right.
Now, the fact that restructuring means different things to different people really can even be determined or even explained. And also, restructuring is a continuous journey. It's supposed to be a continuous journey. So is there any such thing like a restructured Nigeria? Look,
there's no structure you put together that somebody will not say he wants restructuring. Okay? Because if you say that everybody, I was talking about direct democracy now, whereby the money in the federation accounts will be distributed to every family. So you will do your own gutter, you will do your own water, just like we are living. And that is a structure, direct democracy. But that is not possible in a country like Nigeria. How will you get to them? The money you will spend distributing the money may be more than what you are distributing. So the restructuring cry is based on the desire of certain people that are being excluded from the art of governance to be involved. So some people believe that if they have a government, just like in the kind of thing that happened in the First Republic, where you have premiers, you have, you know, the prime minister being a member of the parliament and all that, and everybody is elected. Okay? The truth is that if you have a regional arrangement, you will still have certain people that are more empowered, that are more enamored to oppress others, even within the same system. For example, even as we are under this unitary or pseudo federal system that we are operating, people still complain within their states that the governor has been oppressive, has been nepotistic in distribution of dividends of governance in their states. So that is the nature of what will happen. Supposing you have a Yoruba state, for example.
Okay.
Who will you say will be the leader? Yeah. Now, there's no clear leader in the Yoruba land for now. Now, how do you select the leadership? You will still go through some, maybe some constitutional arrangement, regional constitutional arrangement that people will still complain about. For example, people have complained that, most of those that have found themselves in the federal level as presidents in Nigeria or vice president have been coming from Ogun State. And that's the truth. If you look at Olusegun Obasanjo, look at Ernest Onekon, look at Oladipo Dia, look at all of them, including even MK Abiola from Ogun State, including the incumbent vice president.
But this is not, so it's not deliberate or intentional.
It's not deliberate. But the truth is that politicians will raise all of these questions when you come to regional government. That why is it when we have 6 states and everybody has been coming from the same state? So what we should do, instead of agitating for restructuring, is to rework our constitution to recognize the need for inclusiveness, participatory governance, giving fair treatment to every part of the country and every demography, whether you are old or young, rich or poor, powerful or powerless. A constitution that will look at equity, okay? Not the convenience of those who are ruling us. A constitution that will not recognize ethnicity. A constitution that will make it compulsory for you to go back to the people to renew your mandate, to conduct needs assessment before you act on their behalf. A constitution that will make accountability compulsory for all the leaders. A constitution that will regulate how much you can earn, how much property you can acquire. A constitution that will have ideology, that will put upper ceiling into how much individuals can keep for himself as property, as money, both within the country and outside the country. A constitution that will expose everything you have to the law, whereby even if you are hiding your property anywhere in the world, something like BVN, for example, will be attached to it and it will be exposed. So money laundering will become difficult. Terrorism, financing of terrorism will be difficult. Criminality will be difficult because when you steal, you won't be able to enjoy the proceeds of stealing.
Definitely.
If you cannot have more than 1 million naira in your account because you don't need it. If government provides education, provide a healthcare system, provide sources of food, provide job for everybody, everybody should work and everybody should eat. Government should make it compulsory that people should have 3 square meals a day. If you don't have, there should be a food bank. That if you are indigent, you can go there to draw food. you can always have your children having the best form of education because there won't be private schools.
Okay, now.
So if you have that kind of constitution that regulates our lives and livelihood, then it will be difficult. People will not even want to steal.
All right. Now, to bring up the rear on this very segment, just for want of time, politics appears to be further aggravating the polarization of Nigeria.
I agree with you.
Now, when you think of the fact that the North and the South are both laying claims to presidency come 2023. All right. Now, what should we expect in 2023 vis-a-vis the scenarios that played out in 2015 and 2019?
Well, thank you very much. In 2015, we had two gentlemen, the two prominent candidates for the presidency are from the same ethnic stock. Just like we had it in 1999 when we had Olufalaye and Chief Olusegun Obasanjo contesting. Okay, either way, it goes to the same part of the country. So, but instead of talking about where somebody comes from, ethnic origin and all of that, why don't we talk about merit? Like I said the other time, look at where somebody is coming from. In fact, the new constitution should not even recognize tribe or whatever, should recognize capacity, should recognize integrity, it should recognize the good pedigree. Okay, so I believe what is playing out now is that certain people want to retain presidency, and the southern part of the country want to also have another shot at it. But even in the south, there is people want microzoning. The southeastern people saying that unless it comes to them, then southwest, south are also making claims. Middle belt is a bride. Okay, beautiful bride that are being, patronized by both ends. The middle belt should determine its own destiny and should not lump itself with either north or south. They should stand alone if they want to be so recognized. And I don't believe, although I don't believe in all of these where somebody should come from. I believe in merit. I don't mind if our leader come from the same family. But then what they are playing out now is to cut the favor of the middle belt. If the middle belt joins the southern part will be majority. If they join the northern part will be the majority. If they stand alone, then they will now negotiate for themselves the best they believe is good for them. But if they don't do that, they will remain the underdog, and they will remain the whipping boy. They will continue to lament, and everything will be eluding them.
Quickly and very briefly.
Okay.
You mentioned the fact that if the government put everything in place, there will be need for people to steal. Now, in 1960, Nigeria had a population significantly below what it is today, less than 60 million. Now we have over 200 million. And the size of land still remains the same. The demand increases. Everything is still the same, even worse, the supply and security. Do you think, in a world, do you think there's a need to control our population?
I don't think there is a need to control the population, because population is supposed to be an index of our strength. What we should do is to up our game in providing for the mega population. Okay, the more we expand, the more we have more new initiatives. You don't know where genius will come from or who will recreate our world. So you don't stop them. Once they come, let them come. It is not the population. Look at India. Look at China. China is becoming. China has created its own sun, which is 10 times bigger and hotter than the natural sun. Okay, meaning that they can generate renewable energy better than somebody was. If that person was not born, it's not going to come up with the idea. China duplicates everything, including natural, creations.
All right, thank you.
So this is
much.
what we should look at, that everybody has the right to live.
All right,
Thank you very much.
so much for joining us.